If I had to deal with being 51 years old, if I had to deal with hunting on state land, I don't think I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so much work involved. I mean, you obviously know how hard it is. I mean, now you bought an e-bike so that you can get way back in with. I mean, if I had to walk 2 miles back in like we used to do when we were kids.
Welcome back to another episode of Chasin the Rush Podcast. I'm your host, Colin Metzger, and today I got a guest with me, my stepfather, Todd Griffiths, and he'll introduce himself in a minute. It's been a minute since I made a video. It's been kind of a crazy summer. I moved for a job. I got back from engineer basic officer leadership course back in May. So I've been applying for jobs, and now I'm in my new office, still working on getting it set up and hoping to make more videos, but still trying to settle into the job. So without further ado, I'll introduce Todd Griffiths.
How's it going? My name is Todd Griffiths, Colin's stepdad. I've been hunting since I was 14 when we moved to Wisconsin from Toledo, Ohio. And I've been hunting and fishing ever since.
Yeah, so Todd has made it on a few videos kind of in the background. I've never actually had you featured, though. But I think we're going to try and change that this season. I think you're going to try and do some filming, right?
Yes. I still have to get some equipment yet before the season starts, but since we don't usually go into the woods until October, I think I got plenty of time to get what I need to get.
Yeah, I think just a simple DJI or GoPro just to start would be good, and then you can get a simple handheld camcorder. That's really all you need. Microphones are nice, but not totally necessary. But all right, so let's talk about the property we have. So we've had two properties, right? One just north of the Dells, about an hour, and now this current property. Do you want to talk about that property a little bit?
Our current one or our first one?
I guess we can start with the first one.
Well, that one came about because actually it was you guys' football coach at the time found this property on Craigslist, and we were actually on vacation at the time in July, and he called me on vacation, and I actually wasn't going to answer the phone because I didn't want to be bothered or whatever, but I did. And he told me about the property. It was 160 acres for people in Wisconsin that know the area. It was just south of Black River Falls. So a lot of sand, a lot of pines, really not fertile soil for growing big bucks. But we had quite a few deer on that property. And we had a lot of fun. It was a stress-free hunt because the bucks weren't very big, so you pretty much walked past you pretty much shot whatever. And the camping was great. But again, the reason why we're still not there is the gentleman that we were leasing from passed away, and his daughter wanted to sell all of his properties because he had quite a few that he was leasing to other hunters.
Yeah.
So that's what led us to where we're at now.
Yeah, it's not too far from where I'm at now, Cranberry Country. Bear hunting is pretty popular around there, I know. Yeah, it was a fun property to camp on. It was nice having that river run through. It was a lot better for camping than our current property, that's for sure.
Yep. Other than the power situation.
Yeah, other than the power, but I don't know. I kind of liked being off grid a little bit. It was kind of nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Go ahead.
A lot of fuel costs. A weekend of hunting was 40 gallons of regular gas, and then once it got cold and we needed to run the furnace on our campers, then you had that added into it. So
Yeah.
the new property having electric has been huge as far as cost.
Yeah.
We pay about $50 a month now for electric for powering 2 campers, so that's not too bad.
Yeah. So when did we get the new property again? It was like 2017, 2018?
Actually, it was April. We got it in April 2019.
Okay.
So we got it the April before you graduated from high school.
Yeah. And I remember you and I and her old hunting partner, we went out there and scouted it. I don't really remember much about it, though, when we scouted it.
Yeah, we went. We were actually at your grandparents' for Easter weekend, and I saw on base camp that this property came up, and I got a hold of our hunting partner, and we went on Monday morning, actually, to go look at it right away, and then we put the deposit down after about an hour on the property because we knew it wasn't going to last long.
Yeah. Yeah. So what were some of the things that you liked more about this property when we went to go look at it versus the old property?
Our old property was all swamp. If you remember, it was all low. Mm-hmm. So it was really hard for access. We tried to kind of hunt perimeters and get the deer to come up to us, but it seemed like it was better actually going down and getting closer to the river. Is when the last year we were at the old property, it seemed like that was more successful when we were down in the bottom more, and it really wasn't like a bottom like what we have now. But
yeah, I think we finally started to figure it out that last year when we ended up leaving.
Yeah. So what I like about the new property, obviously, we're in a county that has giant deer, which I feel like we've put a lot of pressure on ourselves to kill big deer. I know your mom she liked the old property because it was stress-free and there wasn't any, and now it seems like it's all about the big deer. And I agree. And I probably am at fault for that because I don't know, I want to kill big deer now. So now that we have a good piece of property, and we've done pretty darn good for only being there 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say, I think the other property was a little bit more fun because there wasn't that pressure, but at the same time, you still want to kill big deer. So there's kind of a balance you got to find.
Yep. And then not even though we live in the Kettle Moraine State Forest where our home is at, where it is kind of hilly, it's still not like the hills that were over at the western part of the state. So I never hunted hills ever. So it's been a learning curve. How I kind of look at it now, I'm a big walleye fisherman, and it's almost like the terrain. I kind of look at the terrain like I used to look at the bottom features of a lake as far as how it funnels fish, and then obviously terrain funnels the deer. And it actually, now that we're getting the hang of it, it seems like the deer are more predictable, I feel like, in the hills than they are on flat ground. It's almost like you got to force them to pinch down on flat ground. You got to make them do what you want them to do. And now where we're at, it seems like now that we understand how they move through our property, it seems like ambushing them is getting to be easier and easier.
Yeah.
The more that we're on it. So
still
every year we got to tweak things. But yeah, I feel like we're starting to figure out how we need to get in and out of our stands. We're leaving a lot of our property obviously alone now, and instead of just walking everywhere and just hunting sign, we're kind of more hunting where we can get in and out clean. So
Yeah, I feel like when, like 2014, when I first really started hunting, and I think you got back into hunting,
Yep.
when we were hunting the kettle moraine, we were really just hunting the best sign that we could find. We weren't really hunting the terrain at all, even though there is a ton of terrain in the kettle moraine.
Mm-hmm. If I had to deal with being 51 years old, if I had to deal with hunting on state land, I don't think I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so much work involved. I mean, you obviously know how hard it is. I mean, now you bought an e-bike so that you can get way back in with. I mean, if I had to walk 2 miles back in like we used to do when we were kids, I mean, the amount of miles that we used to walk as kids in the state forest and how we didn't get lost, I have absolutely no idea because there's no cell phones.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have a cell phone until 1999.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that didn't have GPS on it.
Yeah.
So how we didn't get lost, because we used to go on, is it Duffin Road that comes into Bluff?
Yeah.
We go back in those ridges back off of Duffin, and we didn't have compasses, nothing. We just start walking, and then somehow we'd make it out. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy. Now it'd be easy, but no, I don't. If we couldn't lease our own, I don't know if I could do it. Yeah. So owning, I obviously want to do someday, but we also want to retire as well. So it might be hard to do both. So,
well, maybe eventually I can own, and you guys can just manage my property.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah,
I could totally do that. That actually, if I could figure out how to do the construction part of the whitetail designs, I would totally. There's obviously a need for it because there's so many people online that actually design properties for a living, but they're not doing the work.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a full-time living for someone that's physically doing the work. The guys that are doing the forestry mulching and the hinge cutting and the installation of the water holes and licking branches and setting tower stands and all that kind of stuff. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how we could use a drone, like a big herbicide drone, like something that sprays food plots.
Yeah,
market that and get people to hire us to use drones to spray their food plots or seed, or just even survey and map their land for them. Yeah. And then we could look at the map and be like, okay, you should put stands here or from here.
The guy that's on the Hunter podcast all the time that does the deer recovery, he's into all things drones now. He's spraying ag fields. He's got drones that will put seed down.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the food plot situation when we first got there. Because when we first got there, there was 2 food plots, maybe 3, where the previous people had their camper.
Yeah.
But if you want to just talk about what we did in that first year with the food plots.
Okay. Well, we lease 110 acres just so that everybody is familiar with kind of what we have. We have 3 probably 1.5 acre food plots, probably, maybe not quite. I like to tell people that we have 6 acres of food plots, but it's probably not that much. And obviously with the lease, you're kind of, you can only do so much because the land, it's not your land. So there were, like Colin was saying, there was 2 food plots that were already established. And then the 3rd food plot they used as their camp. So it was a clear area, but it wasn't a food plot. So we made that into a food plot. So that one is a long linear plot. It's probably 100 yards long and probably only 30 to 35 yards wide. And it's got a pitch to it. So it kind of, we have 3 pine plantations on our property. So this one runs along one of the edges of the pines, and then it falls off into hardwoods. And on the first year, we just killed it with Roundup and rented a tractor with a rototiller on it and tilled it up. And then we planted that one with clover and chicory because at the time I wanted to give the deer a bunch of diversity. So we actually planted all 3 of our food plots with 3 different things, which, as we'll talk more about tonight, I found out that probably wasn't the best idea to do, and then we can talk about why I feel that way. But our second plot that we call Stacy's plot, which is your mom's plot, because that's where she was just getting into hunting, so she hunted out of a ground blind for the most part. So we had a ground blind sitting up right on the food plot, which we found out that sometimes works and probably it hurts you more than it helps you. But that one we tilled up and we put just solid brassica throughout the whole plot. And that plot has got amazing soil, so we had an amazing success the first year on that plot. And then we have another food plot that's kind of an L shape that we call the orchard plot because it's surrounded by an old apple orchard. And that one is along a pine plantation as well, so the soil is pretty acidic, which we've corrected that pretty good this year because we've been really actively been putting lime down on our food plots in the spring. Actually, my brother and I spread 2 ton on the plots this year, and it really made a big difference because we put everything to clover this year for the spring to kind of cheapen our food plot budget because we've been spending a fortune on plots. We've been spending like $1,500 a year, and that's with chemical, seed, and fertilizer, and we're trying to figure out how to not spend so much.
Yeah. I will say I think the food plots this year look better than they ever have. Plus with all the rain that we had, like that's really helped them take off. And every year it seems like we're getting a little better at creating these food plots and keeping them going, and the way we set up our stands as we figure out the property and what works and what doesn't. Yeah. So we were out there, what was it, 4 weeks ago now?
Yeah, it was.
You and I?
That was great. It was because we were there, and then 2 weeks later I planted brassica. So it was like the second to the last weekend in July. Yeah,
and we got some drone footage and some GoPro footage that I'll probably play in the background here, or probably make some YouTube shorts out of that as well. Do you want to talk about what we were doing that weekend since you understand it a little more?
Yeah. So we got our clover plots established this spring, and how we did that was last fall we had brassica and half brassica, half rye and oat plots. Mm-hmm. So what I did at the end of the season is I overseeded everything in rye and overseeded everything in clover after the season. And then come spring, Sean and I went out there and did the lime, and then we overseeded again. This was in March. We overseeded again with clover just to make sure that we had a good crop going to come in. And what happened was, and it actually, I thought it was a disaster, but then once I got into the plot, when the rye got tall and seeded out, I thought that the rye choked out all of our clover, but when we walked out into the plot, all the clover was coming up underneath the rye just beautifully. And then what we did was we went to the co-op in Muscadet and got clefidem and then 2,4-DB, which is different than 2,4-D. We sprayed that on all of the plots, and what that did was it killed off the rye and it killed off all the grass and the weeds and whatnot. And then we waited 20 days and we came, that made it to Memorial Day weekend. And then my brother and I mowed then all of the dead rye. And it was a massive transformation. Like 2 weeks later, we had nothing but absolutely beautiful clover, like a pillow of clover. We've had a lot of rain, which has helped, but I mean, by far the best plots that I've ever seen. So,
yeah.
But the weekend that we were there, you and I were there, and we were getting drone footage of friends of ours, and they have 2 leases by us too, but they live where our hometown is. They sell seed and other products, and they gave us some Plot Doctor, liquid calcium, and then Plot Doctor foliar. And what we did was spray all of our clover with that, and that just gave them a jolt, and the calcium obviously helped with the roots and just established it even better than it was.
Yeah, I feel like for trying to keep costs down, that was probably unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But it's kind of crazy looking back at like what our food plots looked like at the old property compared to these.
Yeah.
I do like the size that we had, especially the one food plot that I killed my buck on at the old property. I liked those smaller kill plots, but
yep. And I thought about that too. I mean, the problem with and I feel like where we're at now, we have so much ag around us, but once that ag is gone, because obviously the farmers by us do a good job of getting crops off early. I mean, there's never any crops are always off before Halloween unless it's wet.
Yeah.
So I feel like the deer by us have everything they want, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And granted, there's obviously scrap for them to go after and whatnot, but I feel like our plots really start drawing a lot of deer once the other stuff is off. Yeah. But I have thought about making our plots a little bit smaller to make them a little bit easier to get around, because obviously our plots, 2 of our plots are hard to get around without busting deer in the morning. So, and obviously last year we did a better job. We were waiting until first light to even go out, walking out to our stands if we were hunting by those 2 plots, which seemed to help out a ton. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think Quinn's food plot, the food plot where the old owners had their campers, we definitely need to make that a little smaller so that we can, so that the deer can't watch us while we're driving by on the road or something.
Yeah, and we're going to, come spring, we're going to do some things to start screening it. Obviously, that's not instant gratification, though. That's going to take a couple years to get it how I want, because I want to do it so that it's permanent. Obviously, the plot screen that we've used in the past works awesome, but it's a temporary fix, and it's such a pain in the butt to get rid of in the spring.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worse than corn. It's so hard to get rid of.
Yeah. Did you guys ever end up doing anything where I killed my buck this last fall? Because we talked about doing a kill plot down there.
Yeah, I thought about that too. And then my worry was, how are we going to get in and out? I mean, coming into where you killed your deer, if we put a little kill plot down there, I worried about, okay, 5 o'clock in the morning, we're walking down in there. If there's deer on that plot, we're going to bust the whole woods since it's down there in that ravine. Yeah. So although it would be cool to have something down there, I feel like it might do us more harm than good.
Yeah. It also might work if we, like where we found my deer, where we dragged it out of, put a food plot further down in the ravine. Yeah. Because then we just hunt like where all the deer are coming from, because we pretty much have it covered from where I was sitting and killed my deer. And then we got the other ridge covered pretty much. So that might work if we put something further down and we're just covering the approaches. But And then you guys were there at the property this weekend.
Yep.
Doing final touches.
Yeah. I can talk about what we did for fall plots too, if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we obviously have established clover. So I don't want to get rid of clover anymore, because we've done that before, where it's like, oh, I've got clover, but I don't want clover anymore. So we killed it off and we tilled it, which I feel like that was the wrong thing to do. So this year I went down in the plots with our mower and I mowed out strips. Actually, I pretty much carved out the middle of the plots and left 20 yards around the perimeter. I left that there, long clover, and then I mowed the clover down tight, and then we broadcasted brassica right into the clover that I mowed. And this weekend we were at the property, and you can see where the brassica is starting to sprout. That's been 2 weeks, so I'm kind of nervous that the clover is going to choke it out, because it seems like the clover is coming back faster than what the brassica can grow. So it'll be interesting to see in the coming weeks what happens. Next year we may have to physically till the middles out and turn the clover completely under, and then put the brassica down, and then probably overseed with clover with the brassica so that the clover comes up the following year. Because with our deer density the last few years, I kind of want to have clover all the time, because I feel like we don't have nowhere near the deer that we did the first year. And I know EHD hit hard our second year that we were there. So I feel like the deer are starting to come back. This past year was our best year since our first year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think from all the trail camera pictures we've been getting, they're starting to come back.
Yeah.
And I think the clover has definitely helped. But yeah, it does look like it's been growing pretty fast. Like, I haven't been there yet, but from the trail camera pictures, looking at the food plots, it almost looks like it's the same height again as the rest of the food plot that you didn't mow.
Yep. Yeah, it grew back fast. I mowed it down tight to where when I put the brassica in, it was going down to the dirt. So it should have had plenty of seed to soil contact to be able to start to sprout. And we used a different type of seed than I normally do too. So who knows? I mean, we bought the seed from friends of ours, and with their recommendations. So we'll have to see what happens. Normally by Labor Day weekend, all the brassica is ready for a shot of urea. And from what I'm seeing, the plants aren't going to be tall enough to be able to do it. And I definitely don't want to put straight urea down on the clover, because clover's full of nitrogen as it is. So
yeah. And are you going there this coming weekend?
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't decided yet. I might head down there since I haven't been there and help out.
Yeah, that'd be sweet, because we got probably one good day yet to get everything done.
Yeah. So what were you and Sean doing this weekend exactly?
We went around. We installed we had 6 more cell cameras that we needed to deploy. So we went to all the stands. Some of our stands didn't have licking branches, and we installed licking branches. We got up in all the stands, made sure everything was okay. We took hockey tape and taped anywhere that had metal-to-metal contact on any of the stands to quiet the stands down. We had like 3 ladders on because most of our stands are ladder stands. 3 of our ladders were pretty noisy last year, so we took hockey tape and taped everything up good, and it made a huge, huge difference. And then up top, when you're standing on the platform, there was a few things that were metal-to-metal contact, so we taped that up. And then our lifelines, the squirrels have gotten to the rubber boots, so we took the hockey tape and wrapped the carabiners with hockey tape so that would be a little bit quieter in case one of them hit the ladder on the way up. So We worked from 8:30 until 6 on Saturday, and then Sunday morning we worked from like 8:30 until 11:30 and didn't get everything done. So you think you can get a lot of stuff done, but it's just very time consuming. And then we weed whacked and sprayed all of our access trails to the stands, but we've got 3 trails yet that we haven't done, and we've got lots of trees down. There was a bad storm because you can't even get back into the orchard food plot anymore because that big walnut tree that you had to go underneath with the UTV, that's collapsed. It's completely blown over and it's twisted. Wow. So they must have had some storms with some rotation because it's like twisted like a corkscrew. It's actually kind of crazy that we don't have any camper damage.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Huh. You guys sprayed all the trails again?
We sprayed the ones that you hadn't done. So
okay. Yeah. I did to the old pasture, or to the pasture stand.
Yep. That one's money. Yep.
Yeah, and I did the head of the pine stand, I think.
Yeah, and we did the one going down to the mushroom ditch where I killed my deer. Mm-hmm. We mowed that one, and then we took the mower and we mowed behind the pines by Dalton's fence line, and we took the mower and mowed back there. And then I bought some more chemical to put in the sprayer for the UTV, and I want to spray along Chitwoods, and then I want to spray behind the pines and get that completely killed nice and tight. So, So we still have to go from Dalton's fence line all the way down to your stand yet with the weed whacker. We didn't do that yet.
Okay.
Because that's Sean and I walked down there a little bit. It's probably knee high. Yeah,
I got with backpack sprayer. I mean, it was pretty much just sputtering out stuff by the time I got there, but I got just about to the woods.
Yeah.
But again, that was like sputtering out stuff at that point. So, yeah. So what else do we have to do this weekend?
This weekend we need the pasture stand needs a licking branch and a camera. Mm-hmm. The new, I call it Orchard North. The Orchard North stand that has the water hole, that needs a licking branch and a camera, which we have. There's 2 more cell cameras I don't have out. Yeah. So, and I'm thinking about moving, I'm thinking about moving the 2 cell cameras off of the food plots and putting them at stand locations. Just number 1, because we don't hunt food plots very often, and number 2, it's just we're getting thousands of pictures on the food plots, and the batteries are running down like crazy. So, yeah.
Did you try using different batteries to see if that would
change the batteries that we changed this weekend, and where I changed them to Duracell from the Amazon batteries.
Yeah. I would have thought the Amazon would have done better because from what I read, like they're just as good as the Duracells, but maybe they're not.
But the 3 cameras that I changed the batteries out, I mean, those were high traffic area spots getting lots of pictures. So
yeah.
Now the other spots, obviously, come the end of August, beginning of September, they'll start to pick up a little bit, but it seems like it won't be fast and furious until the end of September, beginning of October, as far as our normal spots in the woods. So, and obviously nicer bucks are starting to show up just like normal. So,
yeah, that's the weird thing about our property is the big deer always seem to show up like right when it's go time, and then after gun season right before gun season, they disappear.
Yeah, I think and actually them not living there in the summer is kind of a good thing. But I think that because our property is so thick in the summer, they're obviously the deer, the big ones are velvet, and they don't want to be banging through that stuff with their antlers.
Yeah.
So, and as far as them leaving and whatnot, it's hard to say exactly what's happening. I feel like once the does get bred, They pretty much all leave. It's just because we definitely don't pressure our property too much because we're accessing everything from the outside dropping in, and we leave the middle of our property completely alone and never go in it. So it is strange, but it seemed like the first couple years that we had the property, we did pretty decent during gun season. The first year was crazy because we just had so many deer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'd go, I don't know if you remember, but during bow season, I'd sit every time I sit, I'd see 6 deer, 7 deer, 8 deer. And then now you go sits and sometimes you don't even see anything.
Yeah, I think that was my first year of college, so I didn't really hunt a whole lot.
Yeah.
I think I came down, was that the year I got my big one?
Yeah, the one over your left shoulder is the one you shot the first year.
Yeah, so I was down there for like 3 days, and I was always getting texts from you. Like, there's another deer. I just saw a buck chasing a doe. And I haven't seen that since I've hunted there. Really. Yeah.
Halloween day, Quinn and I were up there, just the two of us, and from light until like 11, I saw 13 different bucks, and now none of them were giants.
Yeah.
But they were running everywhere. So but we just got 3 inches of snow overnight though too. So
yeah, but it would be nice to get more pictures of the bucks, at least in the food plots during the summer, so we can inventory and know kind of what's in the area, even if they don't stick around during the rut. But
yeah, no, I agree. I do feel that we need to figure out some way to make the bedding around the food plots better so that the does stay by the food plots, because obviously there's depth of cover. Mm-hmm. So the bucks will not bed with the does. So if the does are bedding wherever they want on our property, which it seems like the does just bed wherever.
Yeah.
There's no room for the bucks. Now that we don't hunt our back 33 acres and don't go in there at all, I think that's going to help tremendously, because that's all really good buck bedding back there. But this coming spring, now that our landowner has given us permission to get the buckthorn out of the orchard and stuff, I feel like if we can concentrate on the bedding areas around the food plots and make it more desirable for the does to bed close, I feel like that's going to help us out a lot to give the bucks more room to stay, and maybe we'll be able to keep more bucks on our property for longer. But it's a head scratcher, and again, with it not being ours, there's only so much we can do. I mean, if it was our property, we could fix things really easy. So
yeah, I do think that because last year we really started for the first time staying out of that back 33 acres, whatever it is.
Yeah,
and I think the amount of bucks we saw was definitely better than the last couple of years since we started doing that.
Yeah, when you and I've walked those ridges back there for shed hunting, and there's buck beds on them ridges like crazy, and just hundreds of buck rubs. Mm-hmm. And with us staying out of there completely, I think that is huge.
Yeah,
because I mean, like I said, we should have had 4 bucks by the 29th of October, and we ended up with 3.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty crazy year.
Yeah. Yeah, now the only thing that's really pressuring them is the neighbors up on the one hill, and then I guess maybe the neighbors down in the valley.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely helped. What are your goals? You kind of talked about it, but what are your goals for the food plots and for the property overall in the next couple of years?
This December, after the season's over, like we said, the landowner gave us permission. I've got a buddy that is a skid steer operator. That's what he does for a living. So we're going to go in with a forestry mulcher. Mm-hmm. And get all the buckthorn out of the orchard, which there's 49 apple trees back there that are just being swallowed up by buckthorn and other invasives. So we're going to clear that out There's a bunch of deadfalls back in there. I just want to open that canopy up in the orchard area to make the bedding area better back there, because I feel like there can be too thick, in my opinion. And if a human's got to crawl on their hands and knees to get through it, a deer's not, especially a buck, is not going to be able to get through it. So,
yeah, and it's so hard to see deer back there when they are back there. Like the one video I had out last fall of that like dark chocolate antlered buck, like that was a really hard one to see. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I knew he was there is because he started thrashing up the brush, making a rub.
Yeah. And then I feel like the pasture area, we have a stand in there, but and we'll be able to shape things a little bit with the forestry mulcher to try to, I'd like to have a stand that is a true west wind stand there. Mm-hmm. that blows our scent out into the food plot, so that it's a bulletproof stand. And right now I feel like that stand is too far into the woods.
Yeah.
But the edge of the edge of the woods that butts up to the food plot is too thick.
Yeah.
So when we thin that out, we might be able to find, well, there's a lot of trees in there. I feel like we'll be able to have a different stand location there, adjust that stand, because I feel like besides ground zero, the orchards I feel like it's one of our best areas that we don't do as well as we should, just because of how thick it is in there.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's probably our best spot right now. Ground zero, I think, has kind of died off, but But yeah, I think it's one of our best spots, but because it's so thick, it's hard to get in and out of there. Because a lot of the times when I was walking back there this last fall, deer are bedded back there, or like midday as you're sitting, like you'll see them go bed down.
Yep.
Yeah, because they can sit and watch the pasture from back there too. Yep. So.
And we're going to take the forestry mulcher as well, and we're going to make an access path that's tight to the pasture barbed wire fence. Mm-hmm. And then I want to build a bridge that goes across the ditch right by the fence there, and then we can walk. It's only 12 feet. I measured it. So when we come in there to go to the orchard stand, mm-hmm. I want to be able to stay tight to the fence. I don't want to wander up in at all and stay. I mean, we can't obviously walk in the pasture because the cattle fence is right there and it's electric, and obviously I don't want anything to do with getting poked by a cattle fence. I know Lyle would let us do it, I'm sure, if we wanted to, but we got to be able to figure out how to get in and out of there early in the morning. Mm-hmm. Because that stand, I feel like you got to get in early because there's so much right at daylight movement back there.
Yeah, I feel like everybody who's sat there has jumped deer walking in every morning.
Yeah.
Unless you walk in like a good deal after first light. Yeah.
And I feel like if we get everything thinned out and then we get a nice 12-foot row of switchgrass up mm-hmm. tight to the orchard, and then the does are more apt to want to just bed right behind all that thermal screen and keep the does from wandering down into the orchard where we don't want them. We obviously want the bucks to be able to scent check everything and not have the does on top of us like they seem to be. So
yeah,
we have a lot of space. We've got over 100 yards probably from the edge of the food plot down to the pasture fence.
Yep.
So if we make everything what we've just talked about, it should make things a lot better mm-hmm. as far as keeping them uptight. And getting back to goals, figuring out how to keep the does close to our food plots. Obviously, we can't hinge cut. We can't drop trees and all that because the landowner's never going to let us do it. So mm-hmm. I don't know if we get a grappler attachment for a skid steer where we can grab debris like all the deadfalls and, kind of start stacking brush up in certain areas, not like tall piles of brush, but just like does can lay down next to it and whatnot and use what we already have down on the ground.
Yeah.
So again, if we could hinge cut, we could fix our doe bedding areas in like a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think even if we were just to push stuff around, it'd probably help a lot because there are a ton of deadfalls.
Yeah.
In the orchard.
Yeah. And what we could probably do, and I could get permission from the landowner probably, there's a lot of dead trees in the orchard, and see if she'll let us cut down everything that's dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to fall down eventually anyway.
Yeah.
So if we drop it all, again, more sunlight down to the bottom. And then again, when we use the forestry mulcher to get everything all chewed up, it might not be, well, if we do it in the winter, I want to do it in December. I mean, we might have really good early successional growth back in there, and it might be as good as a food plot. There's going to be so much browse back in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might be a phenomenal bedding area just in a year's time.
Yeah. I don't know if you and Sean actually did this. I was at Fort Leonard Wood at the time, but did you guys go during like the winter and trim up any of the apple trees? Because I know that was discussed.
Yeah, we tried, and then with all of the buckthorn going up through everything, it was just a tangled, gnarly mess. So, like I said, in December, stuff that's really choked out, I'll take the chainsaw and we'll cut it and yank it out of there, and then just have Jason run it over with the mulcher and just chew it all up. And then we'll see what we can do. But we have so many apple trees are just gigantic to take the tops off of them safely. I'm trying to figure out how we can do that, because the way you're supposed to prune them is everything that's going vertical you want to cut out.
Yeah.
And everything that droops you want to leave. So because you want it to be like an umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have any plans with the part of the orchard food plot that we blocked off last year? Or is the plan kind of just to let it grow up with the grass that's already there?
We drove through it Saturday. It's pretty tall, but ideally I'd like to plant it and switch. Because again, it'd be good thermal cover. Deer obviously aren't going to bed in it, but the brush that we transplanted last year is actually living now. It's alive.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if we put switch up against that, they'll actually bed up along there. But I just want to do something to screen Brandon and Tyler's laneway. So making the food plot smaller was just because once the leaves fall off the trees, you can see their laneway. So
yeah. Well, I think it helps having that food plot a little smaller, because it was huge before.
Yeah.
And whoever's sitting in that ground blind now can pretty much see the whole food plot.
Yeah.
So
we could probably cut off some of the food plot on the other end too. Well, where I want to make a path with the forestry mulcher is going to kind of come through the pines. I want to connect ground zero with the pines with the orchard with a travel path for the deer. So with that being said, if we come out of the pines and go across and go into the orchard, you'll go kind of through the food plot right now. So I want to kind of cut the food plot off so that path will be in switchgrass or something like that, and not food plot, so that the deer can come and go through there and not be walking across the food plot. So we'll probably take another 30 yards of the food plot away down on that end too. Yeah. And then the food plot will probably only be like an acre then.
Yeah.
Which we don't have the deer density to worry about them eating it down to the ground, at least yet anyway. And if we ever do, we'll just shoot does. So, which again, unless something changes, I don't think we'll shoot any does this year either. Although I got pictures this morning on your mom's food plot that there was 6 does out there all at the same time. So,
yeah, I saw that.
So that's a pretty good sized family group. So, We must have lost some fawns because we only have 3 fawns from what I can see the last month or so. And this spring, we had a lot more fawns. So I don't know if our bobcat population is the reason why we're losing fawns or what. So it's weird because we normally have more fawns than what we have this year. So
Yeah, there's been hardly like any. But yeah, maybe that. Well, we haven't had any pictures of the bobcat on camera, have we?
Yeah, the ditch pinch had a picture of one a couple weeks ago.
Okay. It
So
seemed
like it was a big one too. So
yeah, it seemed like we were getting a lot more pictures of bobcats last year.
yeah, and I'm guessing because it was so dry last year, and we had the water holes out in the food plots. I'm guessing that they were hanging out more because there was water. Because obviously they're not like a deer. They need water more than what the deer do because the deer obviously everything that they eat in the summertime is full of water.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure bobcats are eating plants and stuff. I can almost guarantee you they're not eating plants. So
yeah. Yeah, I guess there's one in the neighborhood here. The neighbor across the street was telling me, like, better watch a raven because he's seen it twice now. It's a big one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That and deer, I've seen deer almost every night out in the neighborhood. They just walk right down the middle of the street.
Nice.
Yeah. But how many cameras are we running right now? Because you got 6 new ones.
6 new ones, and we had 6 old ones. So right now we have 10 running right now. We got 2 more.
Okay.
I'd like 15, but your mom's not going to go along with that. So it's already $150 a month to run 12.
Yeah, that's kind of pricey.
Yeah, but they're all on monthly. So as soon as season's over, we shut them off.
Yeah. I still got to find a spot up here. There's some county land that I want to look at, but it's probably just going to be does this year.
Yeah.
Although the neighbor was saying that he used to hunt this county land, and he said he's seen some of the biggest bucks of his life there, but he's probably never been to Crawford County or
Yeah.
or somewhere like that. Because everyone who actually like is a hardcore hunter around here, they all say the hunting's just eh. And a lot of the cranberry farmers I'm working for, for helping them out, they a lot of them have land in Buffalo County, or the guy I was with today has owned 7 farms in Iowa.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah.
We'll start putting in for our preference points.
Yeah. Well, maybe someday I'll actually own land in Iowa.
Yep.
Or
that'd be sweet.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on this?
I'm trying to think. Let me look at your outline.
Yeah, I've kind of gone through it. So the neighbors planted corn this year, right?
Yeah, corn's in the rotation, all on. So our whole east side of our farm, this whole south side of our farm is all corn.
Yeah.
This year, and then Dalton's is obviously always alfalfa, which is to the north.
Yeah.
And then I actually wish that between Seuss's and Chitwood's that it would be they weren't on the same rotation. That would be awesome if there was corn and beans at the same time instead of all corn and all beans. So
yeah, because I feel like when there's corn, because it stays standing a little longer, the deer are out there in those fields rather than down in our food plots. You
killed your big one over your first big one.
Yeah,
that year it was corn.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think it varies, but it seems like the years where it's soybeans, it's we see a little more deer.
Yeah, it's more fun driving around right before dark on the UTV.
Yeah.
Because you can see them. Sean and I went on Friday and saw a couple nice ones. Nothing giant, but because down on again now we're pegging our location.
I know you've been saying everyone's names. And,
oh, you can edit all that out.
Yeah, I can try.
Yeah, and there that whole strip along that one side is all beans, so there was a bunch of deer out there.
Yeah,
but it's just weird how the very first year I remember when we used to come to camp right before dark, when it would be me, you, and your mom, and we'd be coming, down W, and we'd see 25, 30 deer just from W until our camp. And now it's like, okay, you see one here or there. I think, and people that live close to a seltzer said it was terrible. The river that goes through a seltzer, I guess, like I said, the second or third year we had the lease, I mean, the EHD was so bad that the whole town just smelled like freaking dead bodies.
Yeah. Well, that, and it seems like this year, whoever's been planting all the crop fields around us, at least in the spring, it looks like garbage.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it still looks like that, but
it doesn't look great. That one game farm,
yeah,
I feel like they're planting stuff, but they're not putting the money into spraying and whatnot. So it's kind of, the corn is what it is. It's not like, you can tell they're not planting it for yield. They're planting it for food for the deer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously the other farms, the other fields that are butting up to our property, those are farmers that want as much per bushel as they possibly can. So
but everything going up through the valley, it seems like the last couple of years has been declining, especially like right before you go up the hill. I think it's on the right hand side. That field the last 2 years I think has been pretty sickly looking.
Yeah,
a lot of grass.
Yeah. But yeah, if you can come down on Friday night, would be sweet. Quinn's surgery is Friday, so your mom's not going. But Sean and Jody will be there they're coming up Thursday morning. They took Thursday and Friday off of work. So my plan was to leave after work and get there around dinner time. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably come down Friday because I do want to help out one more time before the season.
Yeah, we want to get everything done because Labor Day weekend, we got to move Quinn in, and no one wants to be working on I don't either. That's cutting it too close to be in the woods. So I want to be done this weekend.
Yeah.
And there's not much. Again, it's just touching up trails and deploying 2 more cameras and adding a couple more licking branches, and that stuff goes pretty quick, especially if there's 3 of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget how long of a drive it is. I think it's like 3.5.
Actually, I thought it was, we checked, I think it's like 220 from you.
It's 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
So just like it was when we were living in Palmyra.
Yeah. Or there's a little bit of a shorter route if I go through Toma and then through Soldiers Grove, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the way that we came down to camp when we took all the stuff out of the old camp. We went through Toma.
Yeah.
Remember with our old hunting partner, he blew his camper tires down in Reedstown.
Yeah. Didn't we stop like twice? Didn't you like?
Yeah. It was on 131, I remember, because I think 131 comes out of Toma and Sparta. I think Sparta. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we missed?
No, I think we got everything. Yeah, other than talking about, well, I think we talked about a little bit, but just when we first got the property, we obviously walked all over the place and we hung stands on sign, and then we figured that out real quick that walking through the middle of the woods in a big valley is not what you want to do, and hunting the edges now, we hunt from the outside in, drop down into our stands, and then get in easy and get out easy. So I think we only have 2 stands that are a little sketchy getting in and out.
Yeah.
Other than that,
yeah,
we can hunt now pretty low impact. I know we usually don't hunt until the end of October, but now we got cell cameras to monitor pretty much the whole farm now. So you never know. I mean, if we get something patterning early in the season where we can get in and take a crack at them for an evening hunt, we probably would do it. But other than that, I plan on being in a stand October 24th and hunting until the 5th. Oh, we didn't talk about your situation with drill this year.
Oh yeah,
you got 2 consecutive drill weekends on pretty much the best part of the season as far as whitetail hunting goes.
Yeah, this year really sucks for drill for me. So I have drill the 23rd of October through the 27th, and then the 2nd and 3rd of November. So there's 5 days in between. So I'm thinking I'm going to see if my boss will let me, if I can just take those 5 days off and just hunt hard. Because I think by then cranberry harvest should be done. So if I can get those 5 good days in of hunting and hopefully get a buck while I'm down there, that would be awesome. Because I think I'm going to just focus on does up here. Probably as soon as the season starts, I'll probably find myself in a tree stand trying to get a doe, as many does down as I can. So
I'd like to get out. I got to get the bow sighted in now that we got our arrows last Wednesday. So your mom and I both, now that we went heavier arrows, we got to sight in. But I wouldn't mind around here if I get off of work early in the early season, take my climber out and at least try to scratch a doe down, because we definitely, I mean, we're almost out of venison, so we could use a couple. And then, like we talked about, gun season, if we see some bucks that are walking around our property that aren't going to be, ever amount to anything, we get some goofy looking ones, we should just get them off the property. I mean, I'm not saying, you never know, obviously, what a deer is going to become. But, I mean, last year I saw some big-bodied bucks with some stupid-looking racks that were never going to amount to anything. So we might as well get rid of them and put meat in the freezer.
Yeah. And I know my mom doesn't want to shoot one like that, but it's like a perfect first deer.
And that's, again, getting back to the pressure. I mean, your mom hasn't killed a deer yet, and she's been putting in all this time, and I feel like she's passing a lot of deer because she wants to shoot something nice because everybody else is shooting nice stuff. So I think she just needs to find a decent one and let her rip. So, the first one's the hardest one, that's for sure.
Even just a doe would be nice too. It's just so that she can get that kill out of the way and get over that. So.
She shoots well, so I don't think she'll have a problem hitting it. She just has to shoot at one.
Maybe this week I'll take my bow to work so I can shoot there, because there's a lot more open space, because I'd like to see how it shoots past 40 with the heavier arrows.
Did you buy a new block target? Do you have room to throw it in the car? Because I'll bring my bow this weekend. We can shoot at camp.
I'll have room. I might end up bringing my e-bike too, to make things easy, zipping around and checking cameras or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd like to shoot this weekend.
Yeah.
Get it all dialed in.
Yeah.
We shot through paper. They actually had to do a lot of adjusting on your mom's bow to get it to shoot nice, which kind of makes me a little nervous because they put some shims in the cam and whatnot. And again, I don't know enough about setting a bow up, but I feel like that the different grain of arrow and whatnot for what she's shooting, I don't know. To me, they should have been able to put her in an arrow that didn't need to be tuned that much, if that made sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now, though, after she shot through paper like 5 or 6 times, and they've got her shooting bullet holes now, so it's shooting awesome. But it just seemed like it took a long time for them to get it so that the paper didn't tear.
Yeah.
So mine, they had to do a little bit of adjusting, but not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Now, what is my mom shooting again? Like 40?
She's shooting the Full Metal Jacket 4 millimeters.
But I mean, what poundage?
Oh, she shoots 45 pounds.
Okay. Yeah.
So she's shooting the 4 millimeter. She went from a 340 grain setup to now she's at like 420. So quite a bit heavier for the poundage that she's shooting, but with having closer shots. The doe that she did shoot at a few years back, and I don't know where she hit it because I wasn't sitting with her, but she didn't get a lot of arrow in the deer, and I'm just trying to give her a little bit more oomph because we're never going to have further than a 25-yard shot ever.
Yeah.
So her shooting more weight, her pin gaps are going to be bigger, but she's not going to be shooting 35 and 40 yards at a deer. She's going to be shooting 20 and 25. So I'm not really too worried about it, but she's going with a way better arrow than what she was shooting. So the FMJs are pretty good. I mean, you actually switched to those this year too. So
yeah.
And I went to the Victory Rips. And I'm shooting 550 grains total with my broadhead. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I was shooting like 512 last year, so I want the knockout punch. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. I guess to close it out, unless there's anything else.
No, it was a nice talk.
Yeah.
I can talk deer hunting all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll try and maybe we can try and do this every Monday night or every other Monday night. Just set aside time every Monday. That way I actually get some content out and we can actually talk.
Yeah. And then once we start getting better deer on camera, we can start putting those. Obviously, you'll have to edit those in, but we can start talking about certain deer and whatnot. I mean, we definitely have 2, in my opinion, that are shooters already. So we'll see. I still haven't given up hope that Ghost is still alive, but who knows? So
yeah,
it would be cool. It just seems awfully weird that he hung out on our side of the farm for 2 months, and then all of a sudden he decides to go to the far back of our farm on opening morning and gun season and get shot.
Yeah. I don't know. When I see 6 trucks pulling in and there's definitely a big bodied deer hanging from a tractor, I can.
Yeah, and he was a giant.
Yeah.
So both rack and body. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But to end it out, what is your season goal for this year? What is it? To not shoot 3.5-year-olds anymore. No, I've got one 4.5 plus deer on the wall in my life, and that was, 3 years ago? Mm-hmm.
And it took me till 47 years old to shoot a 4.5-year-old or older.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple nice 3.5s on the wall and a 4.5. So I want to hold out for the right deer. I know it's easier said than done for me. I get kind of excited when I see a nice one that walks past me, so it's hard. I don't have very good willpower when it comes to whitetails.
Well, maybe if you start filming, you'll have to have a little more patience then.
Yeah, for sure. You're right. It'll probably calm me down.
Yeah.
More, but
Or make you more panicked. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. And worry about the shot like our friend that we get our seed from. He missed like 3 opportunities last year at his target buck because he passed the shot because he didn't have it in frame with his camera. So he let a 6.5-year-old plus deer walk because he didn't get it on camera. And I understand we watch lots of YouTube videos, Midwest Whitetail and everything, where they do the exact same thing. But they also have camera guys in their tree with them too, though.
Yeah,
Which makes it a little bit easier. But no, every year it seems like we're doing better and better. I'm excited. We'll and again, we can talk about this on a different podcast. But our farm definitely excels the end of October, and it seems to fizzle out the more November comes. But again, if none of us have punched our tag in October, I'm going to hunt all the way until the end. It kind of stinks on how our seasons are set up. That's why I would love to hunt Illinois or Iowa, because of how their seasons are structured. It seems like for the bow hunter, Wisconsin, after our initial bow season is over, after Thanksgiving, it's just a cluster. It's hard to be able to get back in the woods with a bow because of all the doe seasons and holiday hunts. And I'm not sure what the rule is, and I'm sure someone in your comments, if you leave this in your podcast when you do your editing, I'm curious to know if we can hunt in orange during muzzleloader with a bow. I know you can during gun season; it's legal. But can you during muzzleloader season? Can we hunt with our gun tag with our bow during muzzleloader wearing orange?
Yeah, I want to say I was looking at the regulations like last week, and I want to say you can, but I'll have to double check that. I think it said something like you can take a deer any means necessary during that season. Yeah.
Except rifle.
Yes. Yeah.
Because muzzleloader starts the Monday after the 9-day gun season is over.
Yeah.
So it would be nice. Again, we hunt with bows during gun season as well, but it just to be able to get, especially because again, we don't have a lot of pressure around our property, so our deer aren't running through the woods like they are in the Kettle Moraine State Forest in southeastern Wisconsin, like running for their lives. They walk around like it's bow season during gun season, because you hear 5 gunshots on opening day instead of 5 per 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's like that video with Quinn and I where you have people walking all over and
So
yeah. All right, and then one more question: what's one piece of equipment that you bring out to the stand that you could not do without?
I don't wear gloves, so I couldn't go without my muff bag with my hand warmers. So, because for whatever reason, my bow doesn't feel comfortable in my hand with even my left hand that I hold on my bow with. I can't even have a glove on that hand. I gotta have bare hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I never forget my hand warmers.
Yeah, I used to be that way with gloves, but the Sitka Fanatic hoodie like folds over like gloves, and the Fanatic gloves are already super thin. It almost feels like you have nothing on.
Yeah, I have some thin Osseo ones that do okay. That if it's really cold, I'll put it on my bow hand, but it has to be really, really cold. But now that I use a thumb release and not a wrist release, I don't have any glove on my trigger hand at all anymore.
Yeah, I didn't learn that until after my mistake last year.
Yep. But you filmed it, you owned it, you put it in your video. So
yeah, even though I got some comments about it, but
yeah, I bet you there's a lot of guys that we watch a lot of video on YouTube that edit out a lot of stuff. You never know.
I'm sure. Yeah. Mistakes happen and you can only learn from them. So
for sure.
might as well show them. It actually makes the video more relatable and entertaining, I think.
Yeah.
So,
sure. Yeah, I'm sure if I film this year, I'll have quite the follies to have.
Yeah.
Or I think I have something on film and I didn't hit record and stuff like that. I'm sure it'll all happen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap this up and call it a night. I might try.
We went an hour and 13 minutes. That ain't bad.
Yeah.
The last Hunter podcast I listened to last week was like 4 hours long when they had Josh Bomar on there.
Yeah, I listened to that one.
It was crazy. It was very entertaining, but it made work go by good. But yeah, it was pretty long-winded. That guy, he's got some energy. I thought I was crazy about whitetails, but I guess if you've shot 5 or 6 200 inchers like he has, you can get excited like that all the time. So
yeah. When I listen to those podcasts, it seems like they go by so quick, but work's still going by slow.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I'm actually. Chris Brackett is another guy I like to listen to, the Land Life, but he hasn't had a new podcast since May. So I know he does a lot of, he sells a lot of property because that's what he does, but he does a lot of land consulting as well. So he must be like pretty busy, but during the hunting season, he puts out like two or three podcasts per week. So he comes on and talks about his day of, if he has a good day in the woods, he does a podcast and he talks about it.
Yeah.
So his podcasts only are about like 35 to 40 minutes long. So
okay,
they're probably easy to crank out. And I don't think he edits much. I think he pretty much just hits record and however it comes out, and then he downloads it. So
yeah, I mean, podcasts aren't super hard to edit because you just throw your intro in there somewhere and you maybe throw in a little clip at the beginning of like a highlight of the recording.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's not a whole lot of editing you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just like our situation is different. I mean, obviously there's a big, I'm not saying the demand, but there's a lot of people that can only hunt state land. And that's obviously how I grew up. Is hunting state land, and which is hard in itself, but leasing is hard as well because number one, you can only do so much. The landowner is not going to let you do what you want to do for the most part other than hunt there. And it's so much work involved. Obviously you've been involved with it. I mean, it is so much work, and it's never set it and forget it because you always are going to do some tweaking. You always got to go check and make sure a tree didn't fall on one of your stands like has happened to us and break a hang-on stand with that XOP stand that got broken a couple years ago. You got shooting lanes to trim out. You got trails. Even though we use ground clear, the trails stay for a couple years. But this year, for whatever reason, with all the rain, the trails are pretty bad.
Yeah.
So, and Sean raked them out too. While I was doing other stuff, he took the rake and he raked all the sticks and everything off the trail. So he did a lot of work. So once the leaves fall, it's going to be like walking on Pringles. So
no, our situation's kind of cool because we have the property that we lease, but then we have me who's trying to hunt mostly county state land. Probably won't get to ask a whole lot of farmers to hunt their land this year just because, I mean, I tried to already ask my boss, and he's like, yeah, a lot of the farm hands already like to hunt, so it's going to take some time before you make it there.
Yep. Well, that's cool, though, that there's an opportunity maybe in the future. So
yeah. I'm thinking about asking him. So, at the very back of his property, um, there's county land that's landlocked by all this private property. And I want to see if he'll just let me just ride my e-bike way back there and access the county that way. Because I think that'd be good land. And when we drove it, when he took me on his tour, the first time I was up there, there's a creek that runs through there, how he gets all the water for his cranberries. And
Okay.
it's all hardwoods up back there, not like all the pines in the surrounding area. So I think it could be good. And then the deer do love the cranberries, so
Yeah.
probably get some fat.
I mean, all I can say is no. Just say, hey, I want to access this chunk of property. Can I ride my e-bike back there? So
Yeah.
at least all he can say is no. But again, once you are working there for a long time, I'm sure he'll give you the keys to the car and let you hunt wherever.
Yeah. Well, the guy we were with today, he comes out and he's wearing a Matthews hoodie and a Matthews hat and Sitka shorts, and his truck has Sitka stickers all over it and a Kuyu sticker. And
Yeah. You had me at Matthews, so that's good.
Yeah. And he was saying, yeah, I've owned 7 farms in Iowa and I'm on my 8th right now or something like that. And he's like, yeah, it's probably going to be my last one, but he's a pretty hardcore hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, as good as our state is to hunt, I think Iowa and Illinois are probably better, I would think. And I think it's just because of the seasons and how they...
Better management, yeah.
Yeah, if Wisconsin would manage our herd like Iowa does, and again, our population is a lot more than Iowa, but it just seems like the seasons are so messed up. I mean, to me, it's geared towards deer extermination.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like everyone moving to Iowa, like they're going there to shoot big bucks, so they're like managing their herds properly and they're practicing quality deer management. Where up here, it's kind of a free for all when gun season comes around and everyone's just out there shooting whatever. Which it's fine. Everyone hunts their own way, but it seems like Iowa and Illinois, like for the most part, everyone has that mindset of let's grow big deer. So I think that helps.
Yeah, I was looking just to see prices or whatever, like Peoria, Illinois area, that's where Chris Brackett lives. Land isn't outrageous there. And the thing that's nice there is that there's so much farmland.
Yeah.
So yeah, you might have to pay $1 million for a farm, but you get like 3/4 of it is tillable. So you have a farmer paying you rent. Yeah. Which in turn is paying for a lot of the mortgage. But just like our realtor, they have land, and they have 400 acres in Buffalo County, and only 100 acres of the 400 acres is woods and whatnot. So over 200 acres of it is getting farmed by somebody else, and he pays them a chunk, and she says that that money pays the mortgage. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of times you can't look at the price tag of the property and say, how am I ever going to afford this? You just obviously got to figure out how to make the land make money for you to be able to do it. Because if we ever own someday, I know I love our property, but I'd like to have some more open area on the property, ideally. Mm-hmm. I mean, if let's say we found 100 acres to own someday, I would like 70 acres of it to be woods and 30 acres of it to be like open ground or CRP or whatever. I just feel like there's more ways you can shape a property that's got open areas and whatnot. Yeah. I mean, we've got pure timber to deal with.
Well, and just the fact that we'd be able to do what we wanted with the property would be nice. And because, we have that back couple of acres that we can't do anything with pretty much because of the way the property is laid out.
Yeah, and we can't access it from the backside, but
Yeah. So.
But that might, if we continue to do it the way we've been doing it that last year, not being able to access that back there, and that our neighbors aren't hunting back there, so it might end up being good for us that we don't ever go back there anymore. So, it might work out to our favor, and then that's what I mean. That's why we keep our food plots good, keep the does up tight to our food plots, and then the bucks will bed back in the back, and then they'll get up and come for a cruise.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think the property just keeps getting better the more we learn. So
yeah, and our landowner is happy with us, so it seems like we'll be able to lease there forever. I mean, it's unfortunate that it goes up every year, but it's still cheaper than owning. I mean, we can't afford to own what we lease, because it'd be like, with what everything's going for out there, it'd be like $600K probably to buy what we have, if not more.
Yeah.
But there's like $150,000 worth of lumber that we could probably take off of there, and we'd never even know it was gone.
Yeah.
Because to open that canopy up, I feel like, you've seen it too. Right now, when you're in the woods, it is dark. The canopy is so tight.
Yeah.
So, just getting a couple hundred trees out of there would make a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, the landowner, it seems like every couple of years is like, we'll have it logged, but then backs out.
Yeah, then she never does.
Yeah.
I think it's because whoever she picked to log it, she doesn't want to lose a leaser. So it's got to be logged in the winter.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, and that's where they typically want to do it because the ground's frozen, but if they can't get that, because obviously our property would be a hard property to log because of the terrain. Yeah. So in my opinion, they need to set up shop in January and get it done by March. So, but I can't even imagine the mess after they get out of there. It would be crazy. Our property would not look anywhere near what it looks now. It'd be like, landing on another planet.
Yeah.
And we'd have to figure out, okay. But then we'd have all the tops and the debris to be able to work with to really get it the way we wanted it, because there'd be the loggers are going to leave the tops all over hell.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to clean that up.
Yeah. And the trail down the cut road would be improved because they'd have to
fix it.
Yeah.
Because they'd have to get their logging wagons and stuff up and down those hills.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have Jason in December go down the cut road and clean that all up, and I'm going to have him go up top, even though we don't go up there. I'm going to have him those roads that were made on the back side where you shot your 2 does 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to have him clear out all those just so that they're passable with equipment. So if we wanted to go up there for whatever reason, we can go up and down those. We can drive the UTV around through there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have the mulcher for 2.5 days. If you rent it for the weekend, you get to pick it up at noon on Friday, and you don't have to be back until Monday morning with it, and you only pay for 1 day rental.
Nice.
And it's still expensive, but it's a $150,000 piece of equipment though.
Yeah.
Well,
I keep looking online for like used Kubotas or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need, at some point, we're going to need a tractor, because I feel like we do a lot with the UTV, but if we had a tractor like with forks on it or a grappler bucket and whatnot, because we have a lot of dangerous areas in the woods where we've got deadfalls that are hung up.
Yeah.
And we're one wind gust away to having something falling on one of us. So
I think even if we found a tractor that wasn't in the nicest condition, I feel like a tractor is a lot easier to work on than a car. Like they're pretty much simple machines. There's no electronics really, so.
Yeah.
All right, that's a wrap. Just got done chatting with Todd. It's a pretty good talk. Got to cover the property a little bit more. Hopefully you guys get to learn and I guess not really see, but understand the property that we hunt and kind of what I'm working with this season and past seasons. So stay tuned for more episodes and hit that like and subscribe button if you can. And